So much to unpack, y'all. So much to unpack.
So who's smarter then?
But no, it could almost, you know what I'm saying, just like highlight how ignorant these niggas is and look at it. But or you feel me? They not taking advantage of the situation, and I think I should be in this situation, and I think I can, you know what I'm saying? I can.
It's definitely you're trying to diminish my accomplishments and what I'm doing in life. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm lost.
So context?
Yeah.
Basically, when I had real quick, when I had my first interview here at No Jumper, Trell is the one who invited me. I put out the report card January 11th. I've talked about this thousands of times, including in my interview with Adam. January 11th, 2022, I put out the LA rap report card. Excuse me. Trell DM'd me sometime after that, like, hey, pull up to No Jumper. We want to interview you about it. I'm like, great, let's talk about hip hop. Love to do it. Pulled up. They didn't want to talk about the report card. They wanted to talk about people that they called. They said, we called around and did our research on you, and everybody's saying negative things about you, about your character. And they started talking about all these DJs and how these DJs felt about me. They didn't want to talk about the rappers on the report.
So, just to preface what he's saying, this is Dejon, who runs A Day in LA, which is a really dope platform, and he's been a staple in the LA hip-hop scene as of the last few years. So congratulations to him and his platform. What he's saying is how Trell, who you know, me and him have a little situation. We don't have a situation, but he said some things that were very rude and disrespectful, especially being in the position of power he's in. So it's dope that Dejon shares a similar chord regarding how Trell reached out to him for an interview. He said, hey, man, let's have an interview. I see that you're putting out these report cards, something to have a conversation about, right? And he's down. He's a hip-hop head, referring to Dejon because clearly Trell doesn't know too much about hip-hop besides being the bag carrier for some of hip-hop's biggest artists. But anyways, Dejon's like, yeah, I'll come up there. No Jumper has a dope platform, of course. But he said how Trell didn't mention anything about hip-hop and what reverted to being messy, reverted to talking others, speaking down on others to lift himself up, right?
Work hard. And he said, Trell said, oh, instead of focusing on them, why don't you do a podcast? You should focus on yourself and do a podcast, do a YouTube. I've had a podcast since 2020. The interview happened January 2022. So you didn't even do your research on the person you invited up here to interview. So I say in retort to him, I didn't come here for corporate consulting from employees. For the past 2 years, they've been taking this employee word and using it as like a weapon.
All right, so y'all know how I feel about Trell. I feel indifferent about AD. We've had some real conversations. We've met in person. Shout out to him. I'm not going to say anything crazy about AD. Good dude, decent heart, you know? That's all you can ask from a man at the end of the day. But now let's get to Trell, a.k.a. Auntie. And the reason why, if you go through a lot of the comments in his platform, you'll see people mentioning him as Auntie. You'll see people mentioning him as Zrell. I don't know what the Z can stand for. But I think this comes from the fact that Trell, clearly, like he said here, you paid no mind into researching the person that you asked to interview, rather than make a fool or mockery out of him. Speak about how the DJs have something negative to say, nothing about hip hop. So my point is, I'm glad that Dejon called you out on it. I'm glad that he set the boundary, and I love that for him, and I love that for his platform. That's dope. And I love the fact that you exposed a quote unquote gang member who the regular average person would be reluctant about speaking against or speaking or even taking a stand for themselves. So I commend you on that. That's dope. And congratulations on your position at No Jumper. Now, I can understand from their point of view how can you call me an employee in a condescending tone but be in that same chair? I can understand that. I have to be impartial and unbiased here. I can understand that. That's a valid point. Now, he's saying there was nothing wrong with ever being an employee. As you heard Dejon say, there was nothing wrong with being an employee. The issue lies where someone who is asked to interview me, right? Granted, it's a big opportunity to be on No Jumper, so it's not just like, you know what I mean? It goes both ways. So he's setting the boundary. It was the employee wasn't the boundary. Employee is just like, how are you talking to me about practices within a podcast and how to go about it when I've been running my own podcast for 2 years and you fail to even know that? Now, case in point, this is a frequent trend with Trell. He did the same thing with OGZ, right? And like he said, he did the same thing with Reason. He does this frequently, right? Now, if you're paying attention, Trell is a horrible, horrible podcaster. Now, does he have potential to be one of the greatest? Yes, but much like our friend AD, they're content. They're content with having surface level conversations. Now, when Trell was at No Jumper, Adam had Trell cooking. Trell was interviewing Freeway Ricky. Trell was doing some fire stuff. He's cute, developing his craft, right? Now they feel like they're at a point because they sold the Novo out. He's doing it up. But now if you fast forward this time, you're doing buy one, get one free tickets, right? Congrats. Anyways, this is a frequent trend with Trell. Trell likes speaking down on other people, condescending other people. But the minute you say something about him, it is F you, I'm going to kill your mother, I'm going to put the hood on you, on Hoover, you're what I mean, I'm going to, F your mom, F your grandma, and your dad. Yo, bro, we wouldn't have gotten to that position if you didn't open your mouth to disrespect. Yeah, all of us are not from an association. All of us don't have homies that's willing to slide or ride. Some of us are at a point in our life where we're trying to raise families and do better things and not push a perception of this gang life to the younger generation, especially when you're 40 years old. Old ass nigga. Anyways, back to this. For instance, I'm going to put my situation in here. This man went up on a platform he don't own. He's an employee at, right? And he spoke poorly about me in front of 4.5 million people, but in the DMs had very nice things to say about me. Commended my work ethic, right? Now, why would you go up there and say something negative when there's a conversation that's the complete opposite? Oh, because it's an insecurity, because it's Trell has to be here and everyone has to be here. So the fact that Dejon brought them here, Dejon brought Trell right here, brought him down to his level. He said, look, this ain't an employee thing. This is the fact that you're horrible at your job and you refuse to get better, and it reflects in the views, right? It reflects in the views. So he's saying, look, ain't nothing wrong with being an employee. You should have done your job. You should have known I was coming up here. You should have known what are some of the things I've accomplished as a podcaster, as a content creator. This is the basic level of podcasting, is knowing things about your interviewer. Like, that's the basic level. This shows you how a lot of people are put in positions without having to work for it. If you look at Trell's podcast prior to AD blessing him and Adam 22 changing his life, Trell, Tyga's right-hand man, Last King's owner, had a podcast that did so poor, me, a refugee from Nairobi, Kenya, did better than him. That was living in his car and doing DoorDash to fund his business, was doing better than someone who had over 6 figures from a business and has resources such as Tyga and Mac and Q-Op, Schoolboy Q, right? So I definitely respect what Dejon got to say. Look, he's saying, hey, I wasn't trying to clown y'all from being employees. It's just fact that how can you tell me how to do something when you're an employee and you're bad at being an employee? There's nothing wrong with being an employee. Employee of the month gets a paycheck, gets a raise, gets bonuses. There's nothing wrong with being an employee, right? But you're just a bad employee, hence why you're not there anymore. Hence why you got you didn't get fired. I'm going to be honest. You didn't get fired. You left. But hence why your numbers are nowhere near the same that they used to be. Hence why you can't run a show on your own, right? There's times when Trell was doing podcasts and interviews on his own that was doing very well at No Jumper. No one in this damn world is watching Trell on his own with doing an interview on Back Home. No one. Matter of fact, it's hard to watch without Smack there. And Q and MacWop. Oh man, he better. I hope he's paying MacWop a lot of money. I hope he's paying MacWop a lot of money. Just imagine, y'all, a whole stream of Heather and Trell. Cringe. Here go Heather. Thinks she the queen of the world. She's the best of the best. And then here go Trell, the nation's #1 podcaster that doesn't know how to podcast. It's a messed up dynamic, and Heather's screaming at the fans in the chat, but the fans in the chat is who helps pay y'all bills. Very distasteful. So, man, Dejon, I love this. I love this for you. I love the fact that we share the same opinion on the fat. And no, ain't no wrong being fat. But the Flacco dude, the bogus dude, the fact that he lacks any kind of integrity, the fact that he's a carbon copy of someone else, I see the looks that you give him. I do. And I respect that. When a nigga like, there's something I don't like about this dude. I feel you. And I know what it is you don't like. I feel the same way. I respect it, Dejon. So shout out to you and your platform. I love the way AD handled it, man. AD, you know, that's why, like, even though his situation, like, even though it's his brother that finessed me, AD still was graceful about it, right? So shout out to AD. Trell, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You know, you said ain't nothing happening for you. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm nearing 250,000 views this month by myself to the neck. All original content. You hear me? All original content. And I don't have a smack. I don't have no other cast here. I wasn't Tiger's bag carrier for 5-6 years. I didn't have a Last Kings to depend on, right? You say ain't nothing happening for you. Let's see if you're still potting in a year or two. Better hope Smack don't leave your ass. Anyways, man, shout out Dejon and AD. Pun too, Pun doing his shit. And Adam. We can't forget the big salute.